Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Cat Tales, a Warrior Cats Reread podcast. My name's Coffee, I'm your host, and today we are going to be reading chapters 16 through 19 of Forest of Secrets. Where we last left off, Fireheart got in trouble for sneaking onto RiverClan territory to hunt for them because their fish and their river has been poisoned by Two Legs. And even though Fireheart's act of kindness is morally correct, it is illegal. So he has been punished. He and Graystripe have been punished by basically going back to being apprentices for a little bit. So starting off with chapter 16, Fireheart is very much not enjoying his apprentice punishment. He thinks the worst part is sleeping in the apprentice's den, where the other apprentices stare at him, which is valid, honestly, and Swiftpaw, probably encouraged by Longtail, is actively sneering at him and just kind of making fun of him, which is crazy. Like, how is a 12-year-old beefing with you, bro? Fireheart leaves the den and prepares to go find a warrior to supervise him and Graystripe on a hunting patrol when Bluestar, sitting with Tigerclaw at the foot of the high rock, summons him over. Quote, "Fireheart," Bluestar meowed as he approached. "Tigerclaw and I think you've been punished enough. You and Graystripe can be full warriors again." Fireheart felt almost giddy with relief. "Thank you, Bluestar," he meowed. "Let's hope it's taught you a lesson," growled Tigerclaw. "Tigerclaw is going to lead a patrol up to 4 trees," Bluestar went on before Fireheart could respond. "In 2 nights the moon will be full, and we need to know if we can make it to the gathering. Tigerclaw, will you take Fireheart with you?" Fireheart couldn't interpret the gleam in the deputy's amber eyes. He didn't look pleased. Tigerclaw never did. But there was a certain dark satisfaction, as if he would enjoy putting Fireheart through his paces. Fireheart didn't care. He was thrilled that Bluestar was trusting him with a real warrior's mission again. "He can come," Tigerclaw meowed, "but if he puts a paw wrong, I'll want to know the reason why." His dark coat rippled as he heaved himself to his paws. "I'll find another cat to go with us." Fireheart watched him as he strode across the clearing and disappeared into the warrior's den. "This will be an important gathering," murmured Bluestar beside him. "We need to find out how the other clans are coping with the floods. It's important for our clan to be there." "We'll find a way, Bluestar," Fireheart assured her. So, Tigerclaw chooses Longtail for the patrol, to Fireheart's dismay. He briefly worries that they'll both turn on him in the forest and murder him, which is wild, but honestly, considering Tigerclaw's past, not entirely out of the question. But Fireheart comes to realize that the worst thing that can actually happen is they'll just make the patrol difficult for him. Fireheart is determined to prove he is an equal warrior to them. So Tigerclaw lets them hunt for themselves on the patrol, luckily, and even praises Fireheart for catching a rather fast vole. Even Longtail is keeping his nasty little comments to himself. So when they hunt, it's okay. But when Fireheart does it 3 times on a non-hunting patrol, it's not okay. For context, this is a patrol to go check to see if the stream is crossable, right? To get to the gathering. I thought they weren't allowed to hunt for themselves. Is this true? Actually, I'm gonna look it up. Let me see. Can warriors hunt for themselves on patrol? Okay, going to the Warriors wiki page. Patrol. Any warrior can go on a hunting patrol at any time of the day or even hunt by themselves. Cats are not allowed to eat while on a hunting patrol, unlike those who are on a border patrol. So where is that reference from? Okay, that's from a book that we haven't gotten to yet. So apparently it's fine if it's a border patrol. You can hunt for yourself. I did not know that. So I guess Fireheart has just chosen very poorly to eat prey by himself. I guess he's always just been on a hunting patrol or mission of some kind, so he's always gotten in trouble for that. Anyway, that was a tangent. Fireheart is optimistic that they'll have good news to take back to Bluestar, but he is quickly disappointed. The stream on their territory is completely flooded. Tigerclaw says that the stream actually isn't as deep as when Whitestorm last reported it, so they try to cross it. Fireheart is very doubtful about crossing it. It's a little bit dangerous. The stream is so flooded, it's covering most of the usual stepping stones they take to cross it. And he's proven right when the current ends up being too deep and too wide to wade across. Tigerclaw calls to him from further upstream as he's spotted something. Quote, "The deputy with Longtail beside him was standing at the edge of the stream. A branch was lodged in front of them, swept into place by the current so that it stretched from one bank to the other. Just what we need," Tigerclaw grunted in satisfaction. "Fireheart, check that it's safe, will you?" Fireheart gazed doubtfully at the branch. It was much thinner than the fallen tree that he had used to cross to RiverClan's territory. Twigs poked out in all directions, still with dead leaves dangling from them. Every few moments, the whole branch gave a slight jerk, as if the current wanted to sweep it away again. With any other senior warrior, or even Blue Star, Fireheart would have discussed how safe the branch was before he set paw on it. But no cat questioned an order from TigerClaw. That seems authoritarian. I don't think that's good. Scared, kitty pet? Longtail taunted him. Determination burned in Fireheart's belly. He would not show fear in front of these cats and let them have the pleasure of reporting it to the rest of the clan. Gritting his teeth, he stepped onto the end of the branch. Immediately it sagged under his paws, and he dug his claws in hard, fighting for balance. He could see brown water racing a mouse length below, and for a few heartbeats he thought he would plunge straight into it. Then he steadied himself. He began to move forward cautiously, placing his paws in a straight line one after the other. The slender branch bounced under his weight with every step. Twigs caught in his fur, threatening his balance. We'll never get to the gathering like this, Fireheart thought. Gradually he drew closer to the middle of the stream, where the current was strongest. The branch tapered until it was barely as thick as his tail, making it harder to find a paw hold. Pausing, Fireheart measured the distance left. Was he close enough to leap safely yet? Then the branch lurched under him. Instinctively, he gripped tighter with his claws. He heard TigerClaw yell, "Fireheart, get back!" For a heartbeat, Fireheart swayed precariously. Then the branch lurched again, and suddenly it was free, racing along with the surging water. Fireheart slipped sideways, and thought he heard TigerClaw yowl once more as the waves closed over his head. So, not good. That's the end of Chapter 16. Going right into Chapter 17. Quote, as he plunged into the stream, Fireheart managed to keep one claw hold on the branch. He felt as if he were fighting a spiky wooden enemy, twigs that lashed at him and raked through his fur while his breath bubbled into the dark water. His head broke the surface briefly, but before he could gasp in air, the branch twisted and rolled him under again. Terror made him strangely calm, as if time had slowed down. Part of Fireheart's mind told him to let go of the branch and fight his way to the surface, but he knew that if he did that, he would risk his life. The current was far too strong for him to swim. The force of the water meant there was nothing he could do but dig his claws in and endure. "StarClan, help me," he thought frantically. His senses were just beginning to ebb into a tempting darkness when the branch rolled over again and brought him back to the surface. Choking and spitting, he clung to it, with water churning along on either side of him. He could not see the bank. He tried to haul himself further out of the water, but his sodden fur was too heavy and his limbs were growing stiff with cold. He did not know how long he could hold on. Just as he felt that he was about to let go, something brought the branch to a jarring stop. It shuddered along its whole length, almost throwing Fireheart off. As he clung on desperately, he heard a cat screech his name. Twisting his head, he saw that the other end of the branch was jammed against a rock that jutted out into the stream. Longtail was crouched on the rock, leaning down toward him. "Move, kitty pet," he growled. With his last drop of energy, Fireheart scrambled along the length of the branch. Twigs whipped across his face. He felt the branch lurch again and flung himself at the rock, his front paws scraping at it while his hind legs thrust through the water. His paws had barely touched stone when the branch was swept away from underneath him. For a heartbeat, Fireheart thought he would follow it. The rock was smooth. There was no purchase for his paws. Then Longtail reached down, and Fireheart felt his teeth meet in the scruff of his neck. With the other cat's help, he managed to claw his way upward until he was crouching on the top of the rock. Shivering, he coughed up several mouthfuls of stream water before he looked up. "Thanks, Longtail," he gasped. The warrior's face was expressionless. It was nothing. Surprising that Longtail didn't just let him die, because Longtail has hated him for literally the entire series. TigerClaw padded up from behind the rock. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. "Can you walk?" Shakily, Fireheart pushed himself to his paws. Water streamed off his coat as he shook himself. I'm fine, TigerClaw," he stammered. TigerClaw stepped backward to avoid the spinning droplets from Fireheart's fur. "Watch it, we're all wet enough already." Approaching Fireheart again, he gave a rapid sniff down the length of his body. "Back to camp for you," he ordered. "In fact, we'll all go back. No cat can get across that water. You've proved that, if nothing else." They make their way back to camp. Fireheart is tired and cold, and all he wants to do is go sleep in a patch of sunlight, but he is worried that TigerClaw might have purposefully dislodged the branch so that he fell in the water. Since Longtail was watching, he knows it's unlikely, but he can't ask Longtail if he saw anything, because it would definitely be reported back to TigerClaw, and that would become a whole thing. He glances at TigerClaw, who glares back with, quote, unmasked hatred. Fireheart knows TigerClaw tried to kill him, but he just can't prove it. He knows that next time TigerClaw will make sure he doesn't fail in trying to kill him. So, that's not good. When you know your mortal enemy is trying to kill you, but you just can't prove it. That's going to be like the main image in the thumbnail of this video. Quote, by the time he reached the camp, the warm new leaf sun had dried Fireheart's fur, but he was so exhausted he could scarcely put one paw in front of another. Sandstorm, who was sunning herself outside the warrior's den, sprang up as soon as she saw him and bounded over to his side. "Fireheart!" she exclaimed. "You look awful. What happened?" "Nothing much," Fireheart mumbled. Fireheart went for a swim, that's all," TigerClaw interrupted. He looked down at the young warrior. "Come on, we need to report to Blue Star." He strode across to the high rock with Longtail at his heels. As Fireheart staggered after them, Sandstorm padded close beside him, pressing her warm body against his for support. Okay, girlfriend behavior. Well, Bluestar asked when the cat stood in front of her. Did you find somewhere to cross? Tigerclaw shook his massive head. It's impossible. The water's too high. But every clan should attend the gathering, Bluestar pointed out. StarClan will be angry if we don't try to find a dry route. Tigerclaw, tell me exactly where you went. Tigerclaw began to describe the events of the morning in more detail, including Fireheart's attempt to cross by the branch. It was brave, but foolish, he growled. I thought he'd paid with his life. Sandstorm looked around, impressed, but Fireheart knew as well as Tigerclaw that he had had no choice about getting onto the branch. Yeah, he's such a lot. His pants are on fire, bro. Be more careful in the future, Fireheart, Bluestar warned. You'd better see Yellowfang in case you've caught a chill. I'm fine, Fireheart told her. I just need to sleep, that's all. Bluestar's eyes narrowed. That was an order, Fireheart. Stifling a yawn, Fireheart bowed his head respectfully. Yes, Bluestar. Come to the den when you've finished, meowed Sandstorm, giving him a lick. I'll fetch you some fresh kill. Fireheart mewed his thanks and stumbled unsteadily to Yellowfang's den. He is so oblivious about Sandstorm. Oh my god. He's so, she likes him. Open your eyes, bro. Sorry you're so in love with Graystripe that you cannot see that Sandstorm is right in front of you. The clearing was empty, but when he called Yellowfang's name, the old medicine cat poked her head out of the gap in the rock. Fireheart? Great StarClan, you look like a squirrel that's fallen out of its tree. What happened to you? She padded toward him as he explained. Cinderpaw limped out behind her and sat beside Fireheart, her blue eyes wide as she heard how he had nearly drowned. Seeing her, Fireheart could not help remembering how she had been injured beside the Thunderpath. Another accident arranged by Tigerclaw? Not to mention the cold-blooded murder of Redtail. His head spinning with fatigue, Fireheart wondered how he could possibly stop Tigerclaw before another cat died for the deputy's ruthless ambition. Right, rasped Yellowfang, interrupting his troubled thoughts. You're a strong cat. You probably haven't taken a chill, but we'll check you to make sure. Cinderpaw, what should we look for when a cat gets a soaking? Cinderpaw sat up straight with her tail wrapped around her paws. Eyes fixed on Yellowfang, she recited, Poor breathing, sickness, leeches in his fur. Good, grunted Yellowfang. Off you go, then. Very carefully, Cinderpaw sniffed along the length of Fireheart's body, parting his fur with one paw to make sure that no leeches had fastened themselves onto his skin. Breathing okay, Fireheart? She asked gently. Do you feel sick? No, everything's fine, Fireheart mewed. I just want to sleep for a moon. I think he's all right, Yellowfang, Cinderpaw reported. She pressed her cheek against Fireheart's and gave him a couple of quick licks. Just don't go jumping in any more rivers, eh? Okay, he has 2 girlfriends. Actually, technically he's not allowed to date Cinderpaw, but he has 2 girlfriends. Yellowfang let out a throaty purr. All right, Fireheart, you can go and sleep now. Cinderpaw flicked up her ears in surprise. Aren't you going to check on him as well? What if I've missed something? No need, meowed Yellowfang. I trust you, Cinderpaw. The old cat stretched, arching her skinny back, and then relaxed. I've been meaning to say something to you for a while, she went on. I see so many mouse-brain cats around here that it's a real joy to find one with some sense. You've learned quickly, and you're good with sick cats. Thank you, Yellowfang, Cinderpaw burst out, her eyes round with surprise at Yellowfang's praise. Be quiet, I haven't finished. I'm getting old now, and it's time I started to think about finding an apprentice. Cinderpaw, how would you feel about becoming ThunderClan's next medicine cat? Cinderpaw leaped to her paws. Her eyes were sparkling, and she quivered with excitement. Do you really mean it? She whispered. Of course I mean it, Yellowfang growled. I don't talk for the pleasure of hearing my own voice, unlike some cats. Okay, Tigerclaw shade. In that case, yes, Cinderpaw murmured, lifting her head with dignity. I'd like that better than anything in the whole world. Fireheart felt his heart begin to beat faster with happiness. He had worried so much for Cinderpaw, at first when he thought she might die, then when it became clear that her injured leg would stop her from becoming a warrior. He remembered how she had wondered desperately what she could make of her life. And now it looked as if Yellowfang had found the perfect solution. Seeing the young she-cat so happy and excited about the future was more than Fireheart had ever hoped for. This is so cute. I'm so glad Cinderpaw found something. I was thinking she would probably... Well, I've read the books before, so I know what happens, but just reading this back, it's very clear how much she enjoys, being a medicine cat and healing people. Fireheart went back to the warrior's den on lighter paws to share fresh kill with Sandstorm and try to sleep. When he awoke, the light in the den was red from the rays of the setting sun. Graystripe was nudging him. Wake up, his friend meowed. Bluestar's just called a meeting. Fireheart left the den to find Bluestar already standing on the top of the high rock. Yellowfang was beside her, and when all the cats were assembled, it was the old medicine cat who spoke first. Cats of ThunderClan, she rasped. I have an announcement. As you know, I am not a young cat. It's time I took an apprentice. So I've chosen the only cat I can put up with. Yellowfang let out an amused purr. And the only cat who can put up with me. Your next medicine cat will be Cinderpaw. A chorus of pleased meows broke out. Cinderpaw sat at the foot of the rock, her eyes shining and her fur sleekly groomed. She lowered her head shyly as the clan congratulated her. Cinderpaw, Bluestar made herself heard above the noise. Do you accept the post of apprentice to Yellowfang? Cinderpaw lifted her head to look up at her leader. Yes, Bluestar. Then at the half moon you must travel to Mothermouth to be accepted by StarClan before the other medicine cats. The good wishes of all ThunderClan will go with you. Yellowfang half jumped, half slithered down from the rock, and padded up to Cinderpaw to touch noses with her. Then the rest of the clan gathered around the new apprentice. Fireheart caught sight of Brokentail pressing close to his sister, his eyes glowing with pride, and even Tigerclaw went up to her and meowed a few words. It was clear that Cinderpaw was a popular choice for this important position. As he waited to give Cinderpaw his congratulations, Fireheart could not help wishing that all his own problems could be solved as smoothly. And that's the end of chapter 17. Finally, something good happened. I feel like something good hasn't happened in so long. In these, like, genuinely good. Like, just good. Not complicated, not nuanced, not good and bad, just good. This is just good, with no consequences. It's a nice breath of fresh air. Chapter 18. 3 days have passed since Fireheart almost drowned. Fireheart is washing himself outside the warrior's den when Tigerclaw tells him that he, Graystripe, and Sandstorm are going to the gathering tonight, and Bluestar wants them to meet her outside her den. Sandstorm is concerned about crossing the stream, and Graystripe looks excited. Fireheart wonders if he and Silverstream have managed to meet at all since the RiverClan hunting mission got shut down. He also worries about Silverstream's unborn kits, and if Graystripe will be able to bear not seeing them grow up. He clears his mind of these thoughts as he approaches Bluestar and a group of warriors. Quote, "As you know, the moon is full tonight," Bluestar began when all the cats were gathered around her. "It will be hard to get to Four Trees, but StarClan would expect us to do all we can to find a dry route. So I've chosen warriors only. This will be no journey for elders or apprentices, or queens expecting kits. Darkstripe, you led a patrol to examine the stream this morning. Report what you found." "The water's going down," meowed Darkstripe, "but not fast enough. We patrolled as far as the Thunderpath, and there's nowhere a cat could cross without swimming. The stream's narrower up there," mewed Willowpelt. "Could we jump across?" "Maybe if you grew wings," Darkstripe replied. "If all you've got is your own paws. But that has to be the best place to try," insisted Whitestorm. Bluestar nodded. "We'll start there," she decided. "Maybe StarClan will lead us to a safe place." She rose to her paws and led her cats quietly out of the camp. So they all follow the stream all the way to the Thunderpath. It's making the Thunderpath flooded as well, so it's pretty bad. Bluestar assesses it and says it's shallow enough to cross up there, but they'll need to travel pretty close to the ShadowClan border to get to Four Trees. Graystripe is worried about the monsters, but Bluestar says they're moving too slowly to cause harm, and quote, "maybe they don't like getting their paws wet." I think this is really funny. If cars had feelings, would they not like getting their paws wet, their little tires wet? Do you think they can feel that? In the Cars universe, especially, if you guys have seen the Cars movies, I wonder if they can feel when it rains or when it's muddy or something. Food for thought. Whitestorm is worried that even the other side of the stream along the Thunderpath will be too flooded and they'll have to cross actually directly on ShadowClan territory. But Bluestar insists that they get to the gathering, however possible, or StarClan will be upset. This is why I don't understand religion, because this is dumb. Like, why wouldn't StarClan understand if there's literally a hazard preventing you from getting to the gathering? Like, I don't understand that. Also, like, how does she know StarClan will be mad? How does she know? I'm not going to get into it. Whitestorm was right. The land is still flooded on the other side of the stream, so they have to cross a patch of ShadowClan territory to get to Four Trees. Quote, "We shouldn't be here," Willowpelt murmured uneasily. If Bluestar heard the comment, she ignored it, quickening the pace until they were racing across the sodden turf. There were few trees here, and the close-cropped grass offered no cover for trespassing cats. Fireheart's heart was beating fast, and not only from the speed of their journey. If ShadowClan cats caught them, they would be in trouble, but Four Trees was not far away, and their luck might hold. Then he caught sight of a dark shadow streaking over the ground ahead of them, on a course to intercept Bluestar at the head of her patrol. More shadows followed, and a furious yowling split the quiet of the night. For a heartbeat, Bluestar quickened her pace, as if she thought she could outrun the challengers. Then she slowed to a stop. Her warriors did the same. Fireheart stood panting. The shadows drew closer, and he saw that they were ShadowClan cats, headed by their leader, Nightstar. "Bluestar," he spat as he halted in front of the ThunderClan leader. "Why have you brought your cats onto ShadowClan land?" "In these floods, it was the only way to reach Four Trees," Bluestar replied, her voice low and steady. "We mean no harm, Nightstar. You know there's a truce for the gathering." Nightstar hissed, his ears flattening against his head and his fur bristling. "The truce holds at Four Trees," he snarled. "There is no truce here." Instinctively, Fireheart dropped into a defensive crouch. The ShadowClan cats, apprentices and elders as well as warriors, slipped silently into a semicircle around the smaller band from ThunderClan. Like Nightstar, their coats were bristling and their tails lashed in anger. Their hostile eyes reflected the cold light of the moon. Fireheart knew that if it came to a fight, ThunderClan was hopelessly outnumbered. "Nightstar, I'm sorry," meowed Bluestar. "We would never trespass on your territory without good reason. Please let us pass." Her words did nothing to appease the ShadowClan cats. Cinderfur, the ShadowClan deputy, moved up beside his leader, a dim shape in the moonlight. I think they're here to spy, he growled softly. Spy? Tigerclaw shouldered his way forward to stand next to Bluestar, his head thrust out towards Cinderfur until their noses were less than a mouse length apart. What can we spy on here? We're nowhere near your camp. Cinderfur curled back his lip to reveal thorn-sharp teeth. Give us the word, Nightstar, and we'll tear them apart. You can try, growled Tigerclaw. For a few heartbeats, Nightstar was silent. Fireheart's muscles tensed. Beside him, Greystripe growled low in his throat. Mousefur bared her teeth at the nearest ShadowClan warrior, and Sandstorm's pale golden eyes shone with readiness to fight. Keep back, Nightstar grunted at last to his warriors. We'll let them pass. I want ThunderClan cats at the gathering. Though his words were friendly, he hissed them through bared teeth. Suddenly suspicious, Fireheart whispered to Greystripe, What does he mean by that? Greystripe shrugged. Dunno. We've seen nothing of ShadowClan since the flood started. Who knows what they're up to? We'll even give you an escort, Nightstar went on, narrowing his eyes, just to make sure you get to Four Trees safely. We wouldn't want ThunderClan to be scared off by an angry mouse, would we? A murmur of agreement rose from the ShadowClan warriors. They shifted so that they surrounded the ThunderClan cats on all sides. With a faint nod, Nightstar set off beside Bluestar. The other cats followed, the ShadowClan patrol matching ThunderClan step for step. ThunderClan headed for the gathering, completely encircled by their enemies. That's kind of ominous. They arrive at the gathering. WindClan and RiverClan look curious as to why ThunderClan is surrounded by ShadowClan. Fireheart tries to look proud, knowing that they all look like prisoners. Luckily, ShadowClan disperses as they arrive at Four Trees. Bluestar and Tigerclaw head to the Great Rock, and Greystripe heads towards Silverstream, but she is surrounded by RiverClan warriors, so he can only hover, looking frustrated. Fireheart sighs, knowing meeting with her at a public gathering would be a huge risk anyways. And he's, still a little bit, obviously, exasperated with Greystripe. Quote, What's up with you? Mousefur made him jump. You look as if you got something on your mind. Fireheart stared at the brown warrior. I was thinking about what Nightstar said, he improvised rapidly. Why did he say he wants ThunderClan cats here? Well, I'm sure of one thing. He's not being kind and helpful, Sandstorm mewed, coming up with Willowpelt beside her. She licked one paw and drew it over her ear. We'll find out soon enough. Trouble's coming, Willowpelt meowed over one shoulder as she went to join a group of WindClan queens. I can feel it in my paws. Uneasier than ever, Fireheart padded back and forth under the trees, listening with one ear to the cats around him. Most of them were sharing harmless gossip, catching up on news from other clans, and he heard nothing about what ShadowClan were planning. He noticed, though, that all the ShadowClan cats he passed glared at him, still fiercely hostile, and he caught one or two of them glancing up at the Great Rock as if they were impatient for the meeting to start. What's gonna happen now? At last, a yowling sounded from the top of the rock, and the murmuring from the cats below died away. Fireheart found a place at the edge of the hollow where he had a good view of the four clan leaders, their silhouettes black against the sky. Sandstorm settled herself beside him, crouching with her paws tucked under her chest. Now for it, she whispered expectantly. Nightstar stepped forward, stiff-legged with barely suppressed fury. Cats of all clans, listen to me, he demanded. Listen and remember. Until last Greenleaf, Brokenstar was leader of ShadowClan. He was Tallstar, the leader of WindClan, stepped forward to stand beside Nightstar. Why do you speak that hated name? He growled. His eyes flashed, and Fireheart knew he was remembering how Brokenstar and his warriors had driven WindClan out of their territory. Okay, so Brokenstar was so bad, he has a Voldemort situation going on. WindClan doesn't even want to hear his name anymore. That's how bad he is. Hated, yes, Nightstar agreed, and with good reason, which you know as well as any cat, Tallstar. He stole kits from ThunderClan. He forced kits from his own clan into battle too early, and they died. In the end, he was so bloodthirsty that we, his own clan, drove him out. And where is he now? Nightstar's voice rose to a shriek. Was he left to die in the forest, or scavenge a living among the two-legs? No, because there are cats here tonight who have taken him in. They are traitors to the warrior code and to every other cat in the forest. Fireheart exchanged an uneasy glance with Sandstorm. He could see what was coming, and by the troubled look she gave him in return, so could she. ThunderClan, Nightstar yelled. ThunderClan are sheltering Brokenstar. That's the end of chapter 18. What a narc, bro. But also, hey, how does he know that? How does he know that? Either ShadowClan has been able to spy on ThunderClan somehow without being caught, or, a worse option, there is a spy within ThunderClan. Those are the two options here. And I think it's more likely there's a spy. But, what do I know? Nothing. That's not true. I know what happens, but I'm supposed to keep it spoiler-free. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it. Then there'd be no point in rereading these books. Alright, chapter 19. Quote, Shocked and angry caterwauls rose up from the cats surrounding the Great Rock. Every muscle in Fireheart's body urged him to creep backward into the bushes and hide from their fury. It took all his strength to stay where he was. Sandstorm pressed against his side, as shaken as he was, and he found her warmth comforting. On top of the Great Rock, Tallstar whipped around to face Bluestar. Is this true? He snarled. Bluestar did not reply to him at once. With great dignity, she stepped forward and faced Nightstar. The moonlight glowed on her fur, turning it to silver, so that Fireheart could almost believe that a warrior of StarClan had leaped down from Silverpelt to join them. This is like symbolism of some kind. They're kind of painting her as like a savior. She waited until the noise from below had died down. "How do you know this?" she coolly asked Nightstar when she could make herself heard. "Have you been spying on our camp?" Okay, so I'm not the only one who is immediately suspicious. "Spying?" Nightstar spat the word out. "There's no need to spy when your apprentices gossip so freely. My warriors heard this at the last gathering. Do you dare to stand here now and tell me they are wrong?" As he spoke, Fireheart remembered seeing Swiftpaw with the ShadowClan apprentices at the end of the last gathering. No wonder the young cat had looked guilty, as if he had been telling his friends all about ThunderClan's prisoner, so soon after Bluestar had ordered all her clan to keep quiet. Okay, so Swiftpaw is obviously not well behaved. Bluestar hesitated. Fireheart felt a pang of sympathy for her. Many of her own clan had been unhappy with her decision to shelter blind Brokentail. How was she going to defend herself in front of the other clans? Yeah, how are you going to defend Hitler, bro? Tallstar crouched in front of her, his ears flattened. "Is it true?" he repeated. For a moment, Bluestar did not speak. Then she lifted her head defiantly. "Yes, it's true," she meowed. "Traitor," spat Tallstar. "You know what Brokenstar did to us." Bluestar's tail tip twitched. Even from his place below the rock, Fireheart could see the strain in every muscle of her body and knew she was struggling to keep calm. "No cat dares to call me traitor," she hissed. "I dare," retorted Tallstar. "You are nothing but a traitor to the warrior code if you were willing to give shelter to that heap of fox dung." Honestly, I agree. Like, they're sheltering Cat Hitler. Like, the other clans are perfectly reasonable in being mad. All around the clearing, WindClan cats leaped to their paws, yowling in support of their leader. "Traitor! Traitor!" At the foot of the great rock, Tigerclaw and Deadfoot, the WindClan deputy, faced each other with their hackles raised, lips drawn back to show their sharp teeth, their noses no more than a mouse length apart. Fireheart sprang up too, his fighting instincts sending energy to his paws. He got a glimpse of Willowpelt snarling at the WindClan queens with whom she had been sharing tongues a few moments before. A couple of ShadowClan warriors paced threateningly toward Darkstripe, and Mousefur leaped to his side, ready to attack. "Stop!" Bluestar yowled from her place on the great rock. "How can you break the truce like this? Would you risk the wrath of StarClan?" As she spoke, the moonlight began to fade. Every cat in the clearing froze. Looking up, Fireheart saw a wisp of cloud passing over the face of the moon. He shivered. Was that a warning from StarClan, because the clan seemed about to break the sacred truce? Clouds had covered the moon once before, a sign of StarClan's anger that had brought the gathering to an end. As the cloud passed away, the moonlight strengthened again. The moment of crisis had passed. Most of the cats sat down, though they continued to glare at one another. Whitestorm pushed himself between Deadfoot and Tigerclaw and started to mew urgently into the ThunderClan deputy's ear. On the top of the great rock, Crooked Star stepped forward to stand beside Bluestar. He looked calm. Fireheart realized that of all the clans, RiverClan had least reason to hate Brokentail. He had not crossed the river into their territory or stolen their kits. "Bluestar," he meowed. "Tell us why you have done this." "Brokentail is blind," Bluestar replied, her voice ringing out so that every cat in the clearing could hear her. "He is an old, defeated cat. He is no danger, not anymore. Would you have him starve to death in the forest?" "Yes!" Nightstar's voice rose, shrill and insistent. "No death is too cruel for him." Flecks of foam spun from the ShadowClan leader's lips. He thrust his head aggressively toward Tallstar and snarled, "Will you forgive the cat who drove you out?" For a moment, Fireheart wondered why Nightstar should be so frantic, so intent on whipping up Tallstar's hatred like this. He was clan leader now. What harm could a blind prisoner do him? Well, okay. So, flecks of foam, that could be a sign of rabies. So, just pointing that out. On the other hand, I would be furious too. Like, what harm can a blind warrior do? He already did a lot of harm to ShadowClan and to WindClan. He did a lot of harm, and like he can still find ways to be evil as long as he's alive. You know, like these types of evil characters, they live off of spite and fumes. Like, anything could happen. Tallstar flinched away from the ShadowClan leader, clearly taken aback by his fury. "You know how much this means to my clan," he meowed. "We will never forgive Brokenstar." "Then I tell you, you're wrong," meowed Bluestar. "The warrior code tells us to show compassion. Tallstar, don't you remember what ThunderClan did for you when you were defeated and driven out? We found you and brought you home, and later we fought beside you against RiverClan. Have you forgotten what you owe us?" Okay, I really don't like this. I really don't like this manipulation tactic. Oh, I really don't like this. Okay, so I don't think WindClan owes letting ThunderClan shelter Hitler. I don't think they owe letting ThunderClan shelter the cat who drove them out in the first place. This is making me mad. Far from soothing Tallstar, Bluestar's words angered the WindClan leader more than ever. As they should. He stalked up to her, his fur bristling. "Does ThunderClan claim to own us?" he spat out. "Is that why you brought us back, to bow to your wishes and accept your decisions without question? Do you think WindClan has no honor?" He's real for this. He's asking the real questions. Bluestar bowed her head in the face of the WindClan leader's fury. "Tallstar," she meowed. "You're right that no clan can own another. That's not what I meant. But remember how you felt when you were weak and try to show compassion now. If we drive Brokentail out to die, we're no better than he is. Oh my god. This is the worst trope in the world. This is my least favorite trope. Well, guys, we have to be better than he was. We have to be better than Hitler. No, we don't, dude. No, we don't. We can kill him straight up, or banish him, or exile him, or something. You shouldn't be showing compassion to a literal terrorist. Compassion, spat Nightstar. Don't give us tales fit for kits, Bluestar. What compassion did Brokenstar ever show? Thank you. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Like, okay. I'm glad I'm not delusional. Yowls of agreement filled the air as he spoke. Nightstar added, "You must drive him out now, Bluestar, or I'll want to know the reason why." Bluestar's eyes narrowed to glittering blue slits. "Don't tell me how to run my clan. I'll tell you this," Nightstar growled. "If ThunderClan keeps on sheltering Brokenstar, you can expect trouble. ShadowClan will see to that. And WindClan," snarled Tallstar. For a moment, Bluestar was silent. Fireheart knew she knew how dangerous it was to make enemies of two clans at once, especially when some of her own cats were unhappy with her decision to take care of Brokentail. "ThunderClan does not take orders from other clans," she meowed at last. "We do what we think is right." "Right?" Nightstar jeered. "To shelter that bloodthirsty—" "Enough!" Bluestar interrupted. "No more argument. There's other business to discuss at this gathering, or had you forgotten?" Nightstar and Tallstar exchanged a glance, and while they hesitated, Crookedstar stepped forward to report on the floods and the damage done to the RiverClan camp. They let him speak, though Fireheart didn't think that many cats were listening. The hollow was buzzing with shocked speculation about Brokentail. Sandstorm pressed closer to Fireheart and mewed in his ear. "I knew there'd be trouble over Brokentail as soon as Nightstar started to speak." "I know," Fireheart replied. "But Bluestar can't send him away now. It would look as if she were giving in. No cat would respect her after that, not from ThunderClan or any clan." "I don't think this is true. I think they would respect her for changing her mind and realizing she was wrong. I think they will lose respect if she keeps sheltering him." I don't know what they're on about, bro. This is insane. So the rest of the gathering is peaceful, yet uncomfortable, and as it winds down, ThunderClan passes WindClan on their way out. One Whisker catches Fireheart's eye and apologizes, saying he hasn't forgotten how they brought WindClan home. That's great, but they still don't owe WindClan the honor and privilege of sheltering their terrorist. Tigerclaw bares his teeth at One Whisker, who backs away towards WindClan. Fireheart is prepared for Tigerclaw to yell at him, but he actually stalks past him right up to Bluestar. Quote, "I hope you're satisfied," Tigerclaw snarled at Bluestar as he took his place beside her. "Now two clans are yowling for our blood. We should have thrown out that piece of vermin long ago." Fireheart couldn't help feeling surprised by Tigerclaw's hostility toward the ThunderClan prisoner. Not long before, he had seen Tigerclaw sharing tongues with Brokentail, as if the deputy were reconciled to the cat staying in the clan. But maybe it wasn't so surprising that he had been ruffled, as they all had, by the clash with WindClan and ShadowClan. "Tigerclaw, this is no place to argue among ourselves," Bluestar told him quietly. "When we get back to camp—" "And how do you intend to get back?" It was Nightstar who interrupted, pushing his way past the ThunderClan warriors. "Not the way you came, I hope. If you set one paw on ShadowClan territory, we'll rip you to pieces." He turned and slipped away into the shadows without waiting for a reply. For a moment, Bluestar looked confused. There was no other way back to the ThunderClan camp, Fireheart knew, unless they tried to swim the stream. He shivered at the thought of the fierce current that had almost cost him his life. Would they have to stay at Fortrees until the floodwater went down? Then he caught the sight of RiverClan and turned to see Crookedstar approaching with some of his warriors. "I heard that," the pale Tabby Tom addressed Bluestar. "Nightstar is wrong. At a time like this, all cats should help one another." He glanced at Fireheart as he spoke, and Fireheart guessed he was remembering how Fireheart and Greystripe had helped RiverClan by sharing prey. But none of the ThunderClan cats here, except for Bluestar, knew anything about that, and Fireheart heard some uneasy murmurings from the warriors around him. "I can offer you a way home," Crookedstar continued. "To get here, we cross the river by the two-lake bridge. If you go that way, you can travel through our territory and cross back lower down. There's a dead tree caught up by the stepping stones." Before Bluestar could speak, Tigerclaw hissed, "And why should we trust RiverClan?" Crookedstar ignored him, his amber eyes on Bluestar's. He waited for her response. She dipped her head respectfully. "Thank you, Crookedstar. We accept your offer." The RiverClan leader nodded briefly and turned to escort her out of the clearing. There was still some muttering among the ThunderClan cats as Bluestar led her warriors through the bushes and up the slope out of the hollow. Cats from ShadowClan and WindClan hissed at them, even though RiverClan warriors flanked them protectively on both sides. Fireheart realized with a jolt that the divisions within the forest had shifted in the space of a single gathering. He was relieved when they reached the top of the slope and left the hostile gathering behind them. He noticed Greystripe trying to edge his way closer to Silverstream, but another of the RiverClan queens was in his way, giving Silverstream a look from time to time. "You're sure you're not tired?" the queen fussed. "It's a long journey when you're expecting kits." "No, Greenflower, I'm fine," Silverstream replied patiently, casting a frustrated glance at Greystripe over her friend's head. Tigerclaw brought up the rear of the ThunderClan patrol, swinging his huge head aggressively from side to side as if he expected the RiverClan cats to attack at any moment. Bluestar, on the other hand, seemed to be quite at ease traveling with the other clan. Once they were away from Fortree, she let Crookedstar take the lead, while she dropped back to join Mistyfoot. "I hear you have kits," she meowed, her voice level. Are they well? Strange to see her interact with a seemingly random RiverClan cat. Mistyfoot looked slightly surprised to be addressed by the ThunderClan leader. Two of them were swept away in the river, she stammered. Fireheart and Graystripe saved them. I'm sorry. You must have been frightened for them, Bluestar murmured, her blue eyes soft with sympathy. I'm glad ThunderClan warriors were able to help. Did your kits recover? Yes, they're fine now, Bluestar. Mistyfoot still seemed bewildered at being questioned so closely by the ThunderClan leader. They're all fine. They'll be apprentices soon. And I'm sure they'll make fine warriors, Bluestar mewed warmly. Watching his leader and the RiverClan queen walking step for step, Fireheart couldn't help thinking how their blue-gray fur shone almost identically in the moonlight. They had the same neat, compact bodies, and when they had to leap over a log that lay in their path, they both flexed their limbs with the same economical ripple of muscles. Stonefur, coming up behind, was a copy of his sister, with a silver sheen to his coat and an enviable deftness of movement. Do you see now? Do you get it now? I think it's been pretty obvious up to this point what the book is trying to hint at. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm praying that you've either read the books before and you know what I'm talking about, or you're catching on at this point. Because this paragraph, it is incredibly obvious what they're trying to point out. If cats from different clans could look so alike, Fireheart wondered, why couldn't they think alike too? Okay, so that went right over his head. Why did there have to be so much quarreling between them? Uncomfortably, he remembered the antagonism shown toward his clan by ShadowClan and WindClan, and their bitterness over Bluestar's defense of Brokentail. As he padded toward the bridge, alert for the son of two legs, Fireheart felt the cold winds of war beginning to sweep over the forest. Oh, his head is made of bricks. His head is made of bricks. He's not putting it together. Hopefully he will. So, it's 2 mornings after the gathering. Graystripe has once again snuck off to see Silverstream, so Fireheart will have to cover for him again. He asks Brackenpaw if he wants to go hunting, who excitedly says yes. They go into the forest, and he tests Brackenpaw on what he can smell. He smells prey and stale fox scent. Fireheart praises him and directs him to go hunt a little ways away while he goes the opposite way. Fireheart spots a thrush, crouching down, and is about to pounce when he is interrupted. Quote, Fireheart! Fireheart! Brackenpaw's frantic meow split the silence. His paws crunched on dead leaves as he tore through the trees toward Fireheart. Though Fireheart hurled himself at the thrush, he had been given too much warning. It flew up to a low branch, squawking in panic, while Fireheart's paws thudded onto the empty ground. What do you think you're doing? Fireheart swung around angrily to face the apprentice. I'd have caught that thrush, and now listen to it. Every bit of prey in the forest will— Fireheart! Brackenpaw gasped out, skidding to a halt in front of him. They're coming! I could smell them. Then I saw them. Smell who? Who's coming? Brackenpaw's eyes were round with fear. ShadowClan and WindClan, he meowed. They're coming to invade our camp. Oh! Valid reason to scare the prey away. That's the end of chapter 19, and that is where we're gonna stop for today. Not good, guys. Not good. They are at war again. They're called warrior cats for a reason. When the warrior cats have to be warriors and fight in a war. Yikes! Hey, at least they're not fighting RiverClan, though. That would suck for Graystripe. Not good. Sorry for the cliffhanger. But, you know, I gotta split the book up best I can. So, thoughts. I think Tiger Claw is definitely evil. I'm really glad, we had one good thing happen. We've had one good thing happen in this entire book, and that is Cinderpaw's Medicine Cat apprenticeship announcement. I cannot recall a single other good thing that happened. Forest of Secrets, more like Forest of Bad Things happening. Thank you guys so much for joining me yet again. This was a fun episode. More stuff is happening. We're coming to sort of a climax here, it feels like. We don't have that many chapters left. I think maybe 10 or so? Yeah, we have exactly 10 chapters left. So I think the next couple episodes are going to be longer. I'm going to split it 5 and 5. So buckle in. Buckle in. It's going to be a wild ride. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next week, and may StarClan light your path.